Please mute your mics. Barak Yahuwah. To my YouTube family who are going to listen to this teaching, to this part 7 of this teaching, searching for the ancient path, Abraham, searching for the ancient path, part 7, Abraham. To you who are on YouTube, who will be listening to this later on, I say to you, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to the elder Ak, Yahudah. Shabbat Shalom to the younger Ak, Ephraim. Shabbat Shalom to the former stranger, the former Ger, the former Goyim, the former nation, the former Gentile, who having thrown down their idols, and having come out of paganism, and having been engrafted into the Ba'if, the house of Yasha'al, through Hanatsah, which is to say the branch, and having now becoming branches, Nazarim, by having received his Ruach HaKadosh into your heart. You must receive the adoption. You must receive the Ruach HaKadosh in order to receive the adoptions as sons and daughters. And that goes for both the native born and the stranger. You must receive the Ruach HaKadosh by which we are adopted or readopted back into the family, because Yahuwah is Haruk. He is Ruach. He is not flesh and blood. And in order for us to be called his children, we too must be born of Ruach. And so to the stranger who has received the fire, who has received the purging, whose threshing floor has been thoroughly cleansed by the fire of the Ruach HaKadosh, we welcome you this Yom, and to the family, and to the Ba'if of Yasha'al, having now, you are no longer a stranger, but you are a fellow citizen of the Ba'if of Yasha'al now. And being a fellow citizen, you are now a fellow partaker of the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yasha'al and to Yasha'al alone. Shabbat Shalom to the whole Ba'if of Yasha'al, to the elder Ak Yahudah, and the younger Ak Ephraim, and the stranger, the former stranger who is now engrafted into Yasha'al, whereby being fellow partakers of the covenants. Shabbat Shalom to you wherever your feet touch the soil on the four corners of this flat plain earth. Shabbat Shalom to you on this Yom, on this precious Barak Yahuwah, on this Kadush Shabbat Yom. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Mashpaka, we continue this journey. We continue this journey along the ancient path. We continue this journey along the ancient path. And for both of you who are on YouTube and those who are listening via Zoom here live, if you're taking notes, the title of this teaching is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 7. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 7. Abraham. And as Abra has exclaimed both this past 4th day and last Shabbat, it is my belief that this journey, that this teaching is going to take us all the way up to Sukkot. I believe this because it's just that important. I believe that this journey, this searching for the ancient path, is going to take us all the way up to Sukkot, because indeed, this is the path. This is the only path that leads to everlasting life. This is the only path that leads to everlasting life. Indeed, in this season, there is a separation going on. There is a separation going on. 5 years ago, he spoke that same message to me. Yahuwah spoke that very same message, indeed, that this is a season of preparation and separation. He said this to me also 5 years ago, that this is a season in which he is separating the sheep from the goats. He said it. He said it to me. Yes, he did. And I see this. I see this manifesting real time. He is showing me sheep and he's showing me goats. He is showing me that he is allowing the wheat, he is allowing the tares to grow up with the wheat. He is showing me. He is showing me this separation real time. He is showing me. And this separation is no more clearer than walking this ancient path. You see, the sheep walk this narrow path. His sheep, they walk this narrow path. But you see, the goats, they are still on this broad path that leads to destruction. They are still on this broad path that leads to destruction. You see, there are some even who are attempting to walk this narrow path, and they think that they're on the narrow path, but like the 5 foolish virgins, but like the 5 foolish maidens, they have no oil. They have no oil. Indeed, Yahuwah has been telling us that you cannot walk this ancient path unless you have oil. You cannot walk this ancient path unless the oil of the anointing has been rubbed upon you. Unless the oil of the anointing has been rubbed upon your heart, whereby having the Torah written upon your heart, whereby having your wicked heart circumcised, and whereby giving you a love for Torah and a willingness to obey Torah, the ancient path, in Ruach and in truth. Your wicked flesh cannot obey Torah, and neither can it walk the ancient path. It cannot. It cannot. And so the question is, this question, and all of us should be taking this introspective look even this day. What are you full of? Are you full of yourself, or are you full of the Ruach HaKadosh? Which are you full of? Which are you full of? Because indeed, the flesh is a mimicker, just like its father. And thus we are to walk in the Ruach so that we do not fulfill the wicked desires of our flesh. Because if we walk according to the flesh, we are going to die. Because our flesh was sold into bondage to Hashatan. He is the master of the flesh. He owns it. And as long as we walk in it, we are obeying him. And when we obey him, guess what? The wages of crime is still death. We're going to die. Yes, we are. I don't care how much Torah you think you're obeying. I don't care how much Torah you think you're obeying, because we cannot obey Torah in the flesh. We must obey Torah in the Ruach. And so if you are attempting to walk this ancient path without having the oil in your lamp, indeed the word, his word, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. This is Torah. And so if you are trying to obey Torah without oil, which fuels the light of the lamp, you are still walking in darkness. Yes, you are, because you got no light. You have no light. You're walking in darkness. You're one of them 5 foolish virgins. You're still walking in darkness. And you think that you're on this ancient path, but you are not. You're still on the broad path that leads to destruction. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And so Abba has us on this ancient path for whomever has eyes to see and ears to hear. He has us coming back now to this ancient path, the way everlasting, the path that leads to everlasting life, where if we walk it, we will find rest for our beings. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. What does he mean? What does he mean? Shabbat means rest, does it not? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Shabbat means rest. So if we walk this ancient path, guess what? We will enter into our everlasting rest, our everlasting Shabbat. This is the path, the narrow path that leads to everlasting life. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Reading here before we began this teaching again, reading in John the 10th chapter, verses 27 through 30. John the 10th chapter, verses 27 through 30, before we even get back into this teaching, searching for the ancient path, part 7, beginning here at verse 27, it reads, my sheep hear my voice. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. How does he know them? Because they know him. How do we know him? We've walked the ancient path. We walk the ancient path. Those who say they know him obey his Torah in accordance with 1 John the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 4. Those who know him, they obey his Torah because he is the Torah. He is the living Torah. The Torah is his very nature and his very character. And so if we know him, he knows us. How? Because we walk in him. We walk in him. We walk the ancient path. We walk in him because he is in us. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And those who know him, to know him is to know his character and his nature And to know a person's nature and their character is to truly know them. We know him via his nature and his character, which is the ancient path, which is Torah. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. And they what? They follow me. Who is he? He is the ancient path. He is the Torah. He is the living Torah. He is the ancient path. His sheep hear his voice, and I know them, and they follow me. They follow the ancient path. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I give them everlasting life. Yes, this is the narrow path that leads to everlasting life. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And they shall by no means ever perish. And no one shall snatch them out of my hand. No, 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 no. If he is in us and we are in him, no one can snatch us from his hands. No one can snatch us from his hands. If we are in him and he in us, no one can snatch us from his hands, because we're not going to follow another voice. We're only going to follow the voice of the Torah. I asked the question again. Are you full of, or what are you full of? Are you full of the Ruach HaKodesh, or are you full of yourself? Which are you full of? Which are you full of? I tell you, the flesh can mimic. The flesh can mimic. It is a mimicking root, just like its father, Hashatan, who portrays himself as a messenger of light. Oh yes, it's a mimicker. It's a mimicker. And we must grow very sensitive to the voice of the Ruach HaKodesh. One key is this. The Ruach HaKodesh will not speak contrarily to Torah. But guess what? Hashatan knows Torah. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And you know what? Hashatan will speak Torah to you. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. He spoke Torah to Yahusha. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He will speak Torah to you. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. And see, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where those who recognize his voice and those who do not. Those who recognize the voice speak in Torah, and those who do not recognize that voice. Oh, there's a separation going on. There is a separation going on. And he is a trickster. Hashatan is a trickster. He too will speak Torah to you. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Mute your mics, Ms. Parker. No distractions. Mute your mics. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all. And no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. Barak Yahuwah. If we are in him and he in us, who can snatch us from his hands? No one can snatch us from his hands. If we have been born of Ruach, if this threshing floor has been thoroughly cleansed by his cleansing fire, and we are one in him in us, no one can snatch us from his hands. No, they can't. No, they can't. Question is, are you one in him and him in you? Because unless you are one in him and him in you, you're not on this ancient path. No, you're not. No, you're not. You may think you are. I just told you that Hashatan is a mimicker, and he too will speak Torah to you. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Looking at Barashif now, Genesis, the 25th chapter, verses 21 through 23. Barashif, this is, I guess you could call this part of the teaching. I would just put this in my Ruach just before the teaching started. Just before the teaching started, he put this in my Ruach. And so, yes, it is part of the teaching, because Abba put it in my Ruach to speak. Barashif, Genesis chapter 25, verses 21 through 23. Abba's already told you that this is a season of separation and preparation. Yes, it is. It is a season of separation and preparation. Yes, it is. Starting with verse 21. And Ishkak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife, for his Aisha, because she was barren. And Yahuwah answered his prayer. And Rabakah, his wife, conceived. Listen. And within her, the children struggled together. Yes, they're still struggling. Can you not perceive it? These two nations are still struggling together. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And the children struggled together. And she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah, and Yahuwah said to her, listen, two nations are in your womb. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Two nations are still struggling in the womb, if you can perceive it. Yes, we are. Two nations are still struggling in the womb of Yahuwah. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And these two nations have equal access to the pure, unadulterated milk of the word. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Two nations both have equal access to the pure, unadulterated milk of the word. But guess what? One nation is drinking of this pure, unadulterated milk and walking this ancient path, whereas the other nation is struggling. Is struggling. Here's something that most people don't understand about these two nations here. You see, these two nations, when you read other scriptures, when you read other scrolls, see, here's the thing that you need to understand about these two nations. Let me let you know. Let Abba I bring you in on a little secret. You see, these two nations, they were identical. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They were identical twins. The only difference was one was hairy. One was hairy and had red hair. And the other one wasn't. The other one was a smooth man. The other one had red hair. But they were identical. Are you hearing? They were identical indeed. Wheat and tares. They are identical until they grow up. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And only at the end are they separated. Only at the end, when we are both birthed, Barak Yahuwah, when we are both born and enter in, will we be separated and will we be identified? But you know what? Abba has given discernment to some to identify wheat, to identify Esau. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. He has given discernment to some, even though they're identical. Oh, yeah. They say all the right words. They do all the right things. They keep all the feast days with us. They know the Abarit tongue. Yes, they do. They know the scriptures. Yes, they do. They look just like us. They're identical. They're identical to the undiscerning eye. To the undiscerning eye, they are identical. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But there was one thing that separated Esau from Jacob besides the hair. Because I say again, they were identical. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Just like wheat and tares are identical. They were identical. But there was one thing significant other than the hair, the red hair, that separated them. It was one walked the broad path and the other walked the narrow one. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And see, their children walk in their footsteps. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The children of Esau continue to walk the broad path that leads to destruction. You see, the children of Esau continue to sell their birthrights. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The children of Esau continue to reject the Ruach HaKodesh. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Esau didn't want it. He didn't want the Ruach. He did not want the Ruach. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He did not want it. He was content with walking that broad path, and so are his children. And so are his children. But the seed of Yaakov, which are the seed of Ishak, the promised son, which are the seed of Abraham, walk the ancient path as they did. As our fathers walked, so do we. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. As our fathers walk, so do we. And as the children, and as Esau walked, so does his children. You see, Esau merely followed the footsteps of his fathers. He walked the footsteps of Namrud. Yes, he did. And yes, he does. He walked the footsteps of Cain and his children. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He walks in the same footsteps as Cain walked, the lawless one. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. That broad road that leads to destruction. And you know what else? He is a son of the wicked one. The seed of Esau are children of the wicked one. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are children of the wicked one. Abba already told you that the children of the wicked one walk according to the flesh, because Hashatan owns the flesh He is the master of the flesh. And this is why we must be reborn from above, so that we are no longer under any obligation to obey him, to obey the wicked inclinations of this flesh. Thus whom the Son sets free is free indeed. How does he set us free? When he sends his Kadosh Ruach to dwell in our hearts. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So 2 nations are still in the womb. 2 nations are still in the womb, and he's showing them to me. I see them. I see them. He's giving his Son discernment to see them. To see them. 2 nations are in the womb. And 2 peoples, and he already told you that they are identical. Yes, they are. They are identical twins. The only thing separates them is that one is hairy and one is smooth. And one walks the broad path, and one walks the narrow one. But some of them try to walk this narrow path. They speak the right stuff. They're identical to us. They look like us. Yes, they do. But they have no oil in their lamps. They have no oil in their lamps. And 2 people shall be separated from your body. In the end, 2 people are going to be separated from the body of Yahuwah. Do you understand? Do you not understand that Rebekah represents him? She represents him. She represents the body. She represents the body. Yes, she does. Because Ishkak was a foreshadowing of the Hamashiach. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And so she represents the body. She represents the body. She represents Yahuwah. And in his body now are 2 nations, 2 people. 2 people struggling with one another. They're struggling. Yes, they are. They're struggling with one another. And they're going to struggle until the end, until both are birthed. The wheat are going to grow up with the tares until the very end, when he's going to send his messengers to the 4 corners of the Arats to gather the tares up out of his reign, to bind them hand and foot, and to cast them into the fire. But the wheat are going to be what? Gathered into the barn, gathered into the wedding feast, gathered into everlasting life, those who walk the narrow path. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And the older shall serve the younger. Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 through 46. Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 through 46. And when the Son of Adam comes in his esteem, and all the Kadosh messengers with him, then he shall sit on the throne of his esteem, and all the nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate them. Yes, he is. He's going to separate the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goat, Jacob from Esau. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Because Esau is the beginning of the world. Esau is the beginning of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. 2 people. 2 people struggling in the womb. Jacob and Esau, wheat and tares, struggling until the end, until the very end. And all the nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate 2 nations from one another. As a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats. He's already told you that the sheep hear his voice, and they follow him. They follow the ancient path. Yes, they do. But the goats, they follow the broad path that leads to destruction. Yes, they do. Listen here. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the sovereign shall say to those on his right hand, come, you Baruch of Yahuwah. Mute your mics, Ms. Parker. No distractions. Mute your mic. Mute your mic. No demons allowed in here today to snatch the seed. They ain't allowed. I bind them hand and foot and cast them out of here in the name of Yahushua. You're not allowed demons this day. No, you're not. Not this day. You can't come in here. No, you can't. Not today. Basham Yahusha. Come, you Baruch of Yahuwah. Come, you Baruch of my Father. Inherit the reign prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Listen here. I was hungry, and you gave me food. Now, as we continue in this walk in the ancient path, guess what you're going to find out? That this is what our ancient fathers did. That this is part of walking the ancient path. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is Torah. This is Torah. This is Torah. Yes. What do you think the tithe is for? For the poor, and for the widow, and for the fatherless. Yes. and for the Luim and for the priests. Yes, yes it is. This is Torah. This is the ancient path. Yes it is. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. This is Torah. This is the ancient path. I was a stranger and you took me in. Does he not say to love the stranger as your own flesh? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He says to love the God, the Goyim, the God, the stranger, the one who has partaken of the covenant, who like Ruth says, suffer me not to leave you. Where you go, I go. Your people are going to be my people. Where you die, I die. Your Elohim is my Elohim. Yes, he did. He said to love the stranger as yourself. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I was a stranger and you took me in. Yes. Yes, and we're to do this because we are to remember that what? We were strangers in the land of Masraim. This is Torah. This is the ancient path. And as we're going to find out, this is what Abraham did. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yitzchak, Yaakov, Noach, and Shem, and Abba, and Methuselah, and Kanuk, they all did the same thing. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. This is the ancient path. This is the ancient path. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Was naked, and you clothed me. This is Torah. This is the ancient path. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You don't believe me. Well, the Torah says it. The Torah says we're to clothe the naked. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But guess what? Going all the way back to the beginning of Torah, what happened? We see the example with Yahuwah doing what? Covering the naked. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He covered his son and his daughter. He covered their shame. Yes, he did. And so he, being the living Torah, being the ancient path, we are to imitate him and clothe the naked. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We clothe their shame. We clothe their nakedness. Therefore, let a man leave his mother and father's house and be joined to his Aisha, and the two shall become one flesh. Then guess what? He is to provide her food. He is to provide her clothing, and he is to provide her marital rights. He is to clothe her. He is to cover her nakedness. He is to cover her shame. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And if you're not doing it, you're not following Torah. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not following Torah. No, you're not. No, you're not. Don't get mad at the messenger. I'm a messenger of truth, and I'm going to speak truth. I'm going to speak, thus says Yahuwah. Irrespective of who hears or forbears, I'm going to speak truth. I was naked and you clothed me. This is Torah. I was sick and you visited me. Do you not understand that the very nature of Torah is compassion, is love? The very nature of Torah is compassion and love, because Torah is the nature and the character of Yahuwah. Does he not visit the sick? Does he not come to check on us when we're sick and afflicted? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And all those who call themselves his children ought to do the same. Indeed, the book of 1 John, the 2nd chapter, says that we are to what? We are to walk like he walked. How did he walk? He walked the ancient path, because he is the ancient path. He is the ancient of days. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, who are the righteous? If you read the Torah, you understand who the righteous are. This is the ancient path. Noach was considered righteous. Noach was righteous before Yahuwah. Why was he righteous? Because he obeyed him. Because he obeyed him. Abraham was called his friend. Why? Because he obeyed him. Because he obeyed him. If you read Dabarim, the 6th chapter, verse 25, it will be righteousness for us when we're careful to obey it. Not that we are righteous, but that he is righteous. He is the Torah. He is Yahuwah Zadakanu. Yahuwah is our righteousness. And so when we aspire to obey his righteous Torah in Ruach and in truth, having the Torah written upon our heart, whereby giving us the ability to walk this ancient path, he does what? He considers us righteous by clothing us, by covering our nakedness, by covering our shame, as a good husband would do. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. A husband is supposed to provide clothing. And this is what he does. When his wife aspires to obey him, submits herself, and who is humble and aspires to walk this ancient path and ruach out in truth, he covers her shame. He covers her nakedness, and he feeds her with spiritual milk. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And he comes and gives her marital rights. Yes, he does, when he enters her. When he enters her. When he enters her. Yes, he does. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, and we fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? And when did we see a stranger, and took him in, or naked, and clothed you? And when did we see you sick, or in prison, and came to you? And the sovereign shall answer and say to them, Truly I say to you, and so far as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers. Did you hear him? He said, my brothers. See, now I'm not a Christian. We're going to rightly divide the truth. He said his brothers. So insofar as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers. Who are his brothers? Those who hear the word of Yahuwah and do it. Those who obey the will of the Father. These are his brothers. So this is not a Christian understanding when we're talking about strangers. No, we're talking about the stranger who has accepted the way, who is walking the narrow path. He is my brother. She is my brother, irrespective of their genealogy. See, you got to read with understanding. He said, so much as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers. Those who hear the word of Yahuwah, who walk the ancient path, just like you walked the ancient path. You did it to me. He shall then also say to those on the left hand, Go away from me, accursed ones, those walking this broad path that leads to destruction. That leads to destruction. Go away from me, accursed ones, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. You see, either you let him come in with his fire and thoroughly cleanse that threshing floor now, or you're going to be thrown into the fire later. Your choice. Your choice. Keep on rejecting him. Keep on rejecting the Ruach HaKadosh. You're not hiding. He sees you. Your nakedness is exposed. You're naked. You're butt naked. You're not hidden. You're not hidden. He sees you. He's just allowing you to grow up with the wheat, but he sees you. He sees your nakedness. You're not hidden, and you're not fooling anyone. You're not fooling anyone. No, you're not. No, you're not. But you see, in his great compassion, because he's compassionate, the text says that his compassion is everlasting. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The text declares that his compassion is everlasting. And thus, he's allowing these two nations to struggle in the womb, both having equal access to this life-giving, pure, unadulterated milk of the word. Both having equal access to the ancient path. Both having equal access to the fire of the Ruach HaKadosh. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But one, even in the womb, is rejecting, is struggling with the other one. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So it's your choice. It's your choice. Allow him to thoroughly cleanse the threshing floor of your wicked heart right now, or be thrown into the everlasting eternal fire later. It's your choice. It's your choice. Go away from me, accursed ones, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry and you gave me no food. I was hungry and you gave me no food, irrespective of what the Torah declares. The Torah is so compassionate. I love the Torah. I love it. The Torah is so compassionate. He says, don't glean your field from, don't glean what's behind you. Leave that for the stranger. Yes, he said it. Did he not mention the stranger here? Yes, he did. He said, leave that for the stranger. Leave that for the widow. Leave that for the fatherless. Leave that for the poor of the land. Don't glean behind you. When you're gleaning olives, don't glean behind you. Leave that for the stranger. Leave that for the widow and the fatherless. Leave that for the poor of the land. When you're gleaning grapes, when you're gleaning grapes, don't glean behind you. Leave that for the stranger. Leave that for the widow and the fatherless and the orphan and the orphan and the widow and the poor of the land. This is Torah. This is the ancient path. This is the ancient path. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. For I was hungry and you gave me no food. I was thirsty and gave me no drink. I was a stranger. Now he's already told us what a stranger is. Those who, like Ruth, are walking the narrow path as we are. Does that mean that if we come across a starving person who is not a stranger, who is not following the way, that we should not feed them? I pray you know better. I pray you know better. We're to do good to all men. We're to do good to all men. But we're to love our brothers as we love ourselves, as our own flesh. Because they are a part of the same body. We are a part of the same body. We are a part of the same body. But to the stranger who is not walking this narrow path, I pray you know better that if you come across one who is hungry or naked, I pray you know better that you are to clothe him and feed him as well. I pray you know better. I pray that you know better, because our ancient fathers did. Our ancient fathers did. But I speak this to add context so that you understand where the Hamashiach was coming from. I was a stranger and you did not take me in. Was naked and you did not clothe me. You see, we have to use kakma. We have to use kakma. Some of these strangers who are not walking the way, you take them into your house and you go to sleep and they will take your life and it will be your own fault because you did not use kakma. Because you did not use kakma. We are to be as kakam as serpents and as humble as doves. We are to use kakma, but how can you use kakma unless you have the ruach of kakma dwelling in you? I was a stranger and you did not take me in. Was naked and you did not clothe me. Sick in prison and you did not visit me. Then they also answered him saying, Master, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison? All Torah, all walk in the narrow path, and did not serve you. Then he shall answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, insofar as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. Kazun 14, Kazun chapter 14. I got to read this because he gave them to me. Kazun chapter 14, Revelation chapter 14, verse 1 through 5. We haven't even gotten into the teaching yet, Barak Yahuwah, but I have to read these because he gave them to me. Revelation chapter 14, verses 1 through 5. Beginning at verse 1. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000. Indeed, he has spoken. The voice of Yahuwah has spoken. He said, I am coming soon. He said, are you ready? Are you ready? That was to a remnant. That was to a remnant who have turned back to this ancient path and are walking this ancient path with all of their heart, mind, and strength, in ruach and in truth, having his Father's name written upon their foreheads. Having his Father's name written upon their foreheads. I got news for you. You don't have his name written upon your forehead unless you've been sealed in the Ruach HaKadosh. He is the seal. He is the seal. If you haven't been sealed in him, then his name is not written upon your foreheads. I give you another clue here. I give you another clue. These are 144,000 priests. Yes, they are. Kahanim. These are 144,000 priests and Kahanim, plus the little ones and the wives and the strangers that are joined to them. But this is 144,000 priests. I pray that you understand this. These are priests. These are Kahanim. Yes, they are. These are those who are Kadush. Who are Kadush. Who are separating themselves now. Who have given up this world. whom nothing else in this world matters to them. Nothing is placed above Yahuwah. They've given up families and children of loved ones. They've left everything for his name's sake. These are priests. These are priests. Do you understand? Do you not understand that the priests in the order of Levi had his name written upon their forehead? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They had his name. Now, it was symbolic. It was symbolic of him writing his name upon our foreheads via the Ruach. But they had his name written upon their foreheads. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And so these are priests. These are priests, Kahanim, in the order of Melchizedek. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And it has already been spoken to you that in the order of Levi, that Aharon was the anointed one. He was the first to be anointed. And thus all of his subsequent sons were anointed ones. They became priests. All of his sons became priests. Our father is Melchizedek. He is the Kahan Gadol. And those who are born from his loins via the Ruach, who are males, who are men, who are reborn, who are truly born from the Ruach, who have been sealed and having his name written upon their foreheads. They too are Kahanim in the order of Melchizedek. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But there are going to be others joining the 144,000, women and children and strangers, who have given up all. Who have given up all to follow him. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. He always numbers the men. He never numbers the little ones and the women. He always numbers the men. Coming out of Masraim, there were 600,000 men on foot that he numbered who were 20 years and above. Those 19 years and below, and the women and the stranger were not counted in the census. And so he's talking about 144,000 priests, men here, who has given up everything to walk that ancient path. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Listen, having his father's name written upon their forehead. And I heard a voice out of the Shamayim like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne, and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. He said, I'm coming soon. Are you ready? He said, I am coming soon. Are you ready? They are those who are not defiled with women. They didn't follow no foreign mighty ones. They followed the voice of Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone. They are maidens, not defiled by Hashatan or any other wicked mighty one. They follow the voice of their husband and his voice alone. They are those following the Lamb. His sheep hear him and they follow him. They follow the ancient path. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They are those following the ancient path wherever the ancient path leads them on. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are those following the ancient path, the living Torah, the living ancient path, wherever the ancient path leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. No. They spoke only Torah. They speak only truth to the Torah and the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it's because there is no light in them. They have light in their lamps. They have oil in their lamps. And so in their mouth was found no falsehood. For they are blameless before the throne of Elohim. They follow the ancient path. They follow the ancient path wherever it leads them, without turning to the right or to the left, without compromising. They follow the ancient path. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. And so here's the choice. Here is the choice. This is part 7 of this teaching. And it's still not resonating to some. It's still not resonating both here who are listening via Zoom and those who are going to listen to this on Facebook, on YouTube later on. It's still not resonating for you. Here is your choice. Here is your choice. Enter in through the narrow gate, through the ancient path, through the ancient path. Because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. The Torahless path that leads to destruction. Walking the Torahless path without oil, without having oil in your lamp. The way is broad. The road, that road is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it. My brother spoke earlier about the billions of people who are still walking this broad path. And the very few who are truly walking the ancient path. Billions of people are still walking this broad path. Some within those billions are thinking that they are walking the narrow path. Thinking that they are following the Ancient of Days. Thinking that they're following the Lamb. But their threshing floors have not been thoroughly cleansed, and so they're merely following their flesh. They're merely following their flesh. And there are many who enter through it because the gate is narrow. And the way, the narrow path, it's not easy. It's not easy. If it were easy, everybody could do it. Everybody could walk it if it was easy. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard, and some of you think that it's easy. You think it's a game, you still do. You think that it's easy. You think that it's just something to do. You're not fully vested in the ancient path. You think that if you just show up and attach yourselves with those who are walking the ancient path, that you're okay. No, he sees you. He sees your nakedness. Yes, he does. You buck naked. You just don't know it. You know why you don't know you're buck naked? Because you're Torahless. Because if you were following Torah would expose your nakedness. That's what it does. You see, if you were following Torah, if the Ancient of Days, if the living Torah were in your heart, if that threshing floor had been thoroughly cleansed by that cleansing fire, you would know that you were naked. Yes, you would, because that's what Torah does. This is what happened with Adam and Kua. When they transgressed, they understood that they were naked. Yes, because they transgressed Torah. This is what Torah does. It reveals the nakedness. You don't know that you're naked because you don't have the living Torah living inside of you. You don't know that you're naked because you're not truly following the Torah. You're not truly following the ancient path. And so you think you're clothed, but you're buck naked. You are buck naked. You're like the nations who run around buck naked, revealing their flesh, showing their nakedness, having no shame because they don't follow the Torah. Having no shame because they don't follow the Torah. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed. The ancient path is hard pressed, which leads to life, which leads to rest for your beings. Search for the ancient path and walk in it and find rest for your being and have everlasting life. Listen here. And there are few who find it. There are few who find the ancient path. It's not a game. It's not a game. There are very few who find the ancient path. Very, very few who find the ancient path. Barak Yahuwah. I had to read that because he gave it to me. And I pray that it cut somebody. I do. But whether it did or where it didn't, that's not my problem. I speak what he tells me to speak. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. And so now continuing on this ancient path, continuing on this teaching, this is part 7, searching for the ancient path, Abraham. Searching for the ancient path, Abraham. We left off in chapter 15 of Jasher. And so today we will pick back up in chapter 16 of the book of Jasher. Walking the ancient path looking at the ancient path. And now we began this journey with Yahuwah establishing to us what is the ancient path. And him exclaiming that the ancient path is what? The way, the truth, and the life. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is the way, the truth, and the life. After he established the ancient path to us, then he began to show us examples of how to walk the ancient path through the lenses of looking at our ancient fathers. And so the first example that he gave us was the example of Kanuk. Of Kanuk. The first example that he gave us was Kanuk. The second example that he gave us was the example of Methuselah and Noach. Methuselah and Noach. Everyone mute your mic, family. There's some feedback coming through. There's some feedback. There's feedback coming through. Make sure that your mics are muted. You can easily bump your hand and bump the screen of your phone and unmute your mic. Make sure that your mics are muted. We don't want any distractions. We don't want any of these demons coming away in here and snatching away the word because of distractions. So make sure that your phones are muted. He then gave us the example of Methuselah and Noach with respect to looking at how our ancient fathers walked the ancient path and looking at their example as to how we too should walk the ancient path. How we too should walk the ancient path. And so now for the past 2.5 weeks now, we've been looking at Abram. We have been looking at our ancient father Abram and looking at his example of how to walk the ancient path. It is my belief that Abba is not going to stop with Abram. I believe that this teaching is going to go all the way up to Sukkot. But it is my belief that he's not going to stop with the example of Abram. But we find ourselves now in Abram, and looking at Abram, it's going to be very extensive. It's going to be very extensive. And so we've already spoken enough. I don't want to say we wasted no time because we didn't. That was from Abba. That was from Abba. But without further ado, let's take a look now at the example of Abram in walking this ancient path from the 16th chapter of Yashar, commonly called Jasher, beginning at verse 1. At that time, Kadu la Omar, let me know when it's 3:55. At that time, Kadula Amar, sovereign of Ailam, sent to all the neighboring sovereigns to Namrud, sovereign of Shinar, who was then under his power, and to Tidal, sovereign of nations, and to Ariuk, sovereign of Alakar, with whom he cut a covenant, saying, come up to me and assist me, that we may smite all the towns of Sodom and its inhabitants, for they have rebelled against me these 13 years. And it was mentioned in the last teaching that 13 is the number for rebellion. And this is why Namrud is the 13th from Adam. He is the man of lawlessness. He is the man of rebellion. And these 4 sovereigns went up with all their camps, about 800,000 men. And they went as they were, and smote every man they found in their road. And the 5 sovereigns of Sodom, and Amorah, Shin'ab, sovereign of Admah, Sham'abah, sovereign of Zabiim, Bara, sovereign of Sodom, Basha, sovereign of Amorah, and Bala, sovereign of Zu'ah, went out to meet them, and they all joined together in the valley of Sibeim. And these 9 sovereigns made war in the valley of Sibeim, and the sovereigns of Sodom and Amorah were smitten before the sovereigns of Ailam. And the valley of Siddim was full of lime pits, and the sovereigns of Ailam pursued the sovereigns of Sodom. And the sovereigns of Sodom with their camps fled and fell into the lime pits. And all that remained went to the mountain of safety for safety. And the 5 sovereigns of Elam came after them and pursued them to the gates of Sodom, and they took all that was in Sodom. And they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they also took Lut, Abram's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom. And they went away. And Eunuch, Abram's servant, who was in the battle, saw this, and told Abram all that the sovereigns had done in the cities of Sodom, and that Lut was taken captive by them. Now listen, it is suspect to me. It's very suspect to me that Lut was living among these Sodomites, that he was living among these Sodomites. Now the word to Abram was to come out from amongst the nations. Indeed, this is the word for us as well, to come out from amongst the nations. This is not a new word. This word goes all the way back to the time before the flood. And so Abram didn't live amongst these types of people. He did not purposely live in cities like this. Our people dwelled in tents alone. If you read the words of Balaam when he was reading, speaking of Barakah over the nation of Yasharal, he spoke that we are a people dwelling in tents alone. Yes, we are. It is written, wherefore come out from among them. Be ye separate. Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And so it's kind of suspect to me that Lut was living amongst this whole city of sodomy. It's suspect to me. It is very suspect to me because the text tells me that he who walks upright before Yahuwah, he will withhold no good thing from him. Now we're going to read this, that they took Lut captive, but we understand as we continue to read the text that Abba Yahuwah was good to Lut. He was very good to Lut. Why? For the sake of Abraham. For the sake of Abraham, he was very good to Lut. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He baruched the whole house of Abram for the sake of Abram. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Nevertheless, I just wanted to make that observation that is very suspect to me, that Lut was living amongst a whole city of sodomy. Yes, it is. It's very suspect. Verse 6, and they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they also took Lut, Abram's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom. And they went away, and Eunuch, Abram's servant, who was in the battle, saw this, and told Abram all that the sovereigns had done in the cities of Sodom, and that Lut was taken captive by them. And Lut was taken captive by them. Now we understand this. Before we're close to the hour, before we go on, I once knew a Christian who shared this story with me, and he told me that his cousin had come to live with them from Louisiana. Now his cousin was, as they say, a flaming homosexual. He was a flaming homosexual. And this Christian began to talk to me. He began to share with me in intimacy. He said that he then began to have homosexual dreams. He began to have homosexual dreams. He said he then went to his mother, who's a very cockam woman. I know her. And he asked her, he said, is it possible for these spirits to transfer the jump on me? And she, being a Christian, had enough chokmah to tell him yes, that it is possible that if you are surrounded by these types of ruachs, that they can jump on you and tempt you. You see, it is roots that tempt us into crime. This is what they do. And so if you don't have enough sense not to hang out or live amongst homosexuals, thinking that you are something that you are not. Indeed, these Ruachs can jump upon you. You see, it is my belief that Lut and his daughters, living amongst this perverseness for so long, that this played a part in them sleeping with their father in that cave. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but we must come out from amongst them. We cannot walk this ancient path and be amongst them. We cannot. We cannot. Now, they obviously weren't walking the ancient path, because if they were walking the ancient path, then they would have trusted the word of Yahuwah when he said, you can go live in this city here. But they becoming afraid, and we understand that fear is not part of walking the ancient path. They became afraid and went and hid in a cave. And their eyes being full of perverseness, all those years watching that perverseness, got their father drunk and laid with him. And as we read the book of Jubilees, we understand that their children were destined to be cursed. From that point on, their children were destined to be cursed. Nevertheless, I just find that interesting, and I had to add that observation. It is indeed relevant to this teaching. It is relevant to this teaching. Let's read now again. No, we're going to go on to verse 7. And Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men. Now Abram rose up with about 318 men, going up against 800,000 men. 800,000 men against 300. You see, Abba, he always loves a remnant. He loves small numbers because, see, then he gets the esteem. Did not Gideon defeat that army with 300? Did not Abba Yahuwah defeat that army through Gideon with 300 men? Yes, he did. He loves small numbers, and this is why he's only choosing 144,000 in this season. He's only choosing 144,000. Only a small few. Only a small few who are walking this ancient path. And Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him. And that night pursued these sovereigns, 800,000 of them, 800,000, and smote them. And smote them. Did not Abba tell us that another characteristic of someone who is walking the ancient path is that they're bold. They're not fearful. It takes a bold person to take 318 men and go up against 800,000. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It takes someone brave and courageous to take 318 men to go up against 800,000. He must have known something. He must have known something. Yes, he knew something. You see, Abraham trusted Yahuwah. This is another characteristic. Those walking in the ancient path trust him. They trust what? They trust that those who are walking in the ancient path, that Yahuwah Shamma'u himself will fight for us. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. He will fight for us. Those who are walking the ancient path trust in him. They are bold and courageous, and they trust that those who are walking this narrow path, they trust that Yahuwah Shamma'u, master of armies of Shamayim, will himself fight for us. Fight for us. And Abram heard all this, and he rose up with about 318 men, and they were with him. And that night pursued these 800,000 men and these sovereigns, and smote them. And smote them. And they fell before Abram, his men, and there was none remaining but the 4 sovereigns who fled, and they went each his own road. You see, you think it's a game. You think this is a game. If we truly walk this ancient path, Yahuwah will fight for us. He will fight our battles. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. For those who trust him. Yes, he will. And walk this ancient path. And Abram recovered all the property of Sodom. And he also recovered Lut. He recovered Lut. Abram was good to Lut for the sake of Abraham. For the sake of Abraham. We understand here is another characteristic, that those who walk the ancient path will fight for their brothers. Yes, they will. Abraham considered Lut his brother. Even though he was his nephew, he considered him his brother. Yes, he did. And Abram recovered all the property of Sodom. And he also recovered Lut and his property, his woman and little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lut lacked nothing. So that Lut lacked nothing. 318 men went up against 800,000 men. And Yahuwah, through 318 men, smote them all. Smote them all. If we walk this ancient path, this is a characteristic, Yahuwah himself will fight for us. Will fight for us. I'm going to stop here. We're at 3:55. We're coming up on the 9th hour offering. I'm going to stop here, and then we'll pick up in verse 9 after the 9th hour offering. Barak Yahuwah. It's interesting here that Lut lacked nothing, that he recovered all his property. He lacked nothing, and he lacked nothing for the sake of Abram. For the sake of Abram. He did this for Lut, for the sake of Abram. For the sake of Abram. Those who walk upright before him will lack not any good matter. Barak Yahuwah.
Hey, I have a question. It don't pertain to the lesson, but
we're close. We're close to the 9th hour offering.
Oh, okay.
Pray that you bring your best offerings, Maspaka. I pray that you bring your best offerings. The best of the first that splits the womb. The best of the oil. The best of the wine. The best of the bread. It belongs to him. He is Kahan Gadol. And these first fruits belong to him. And so we're to give him the best that splits the womb, unblemished, unblemished, the best of the first that splits the womb, the best of the oil, the best of the wine, and the best of the bread, unblemished. Our best offering, the best offering is reserved for the Kahan Gadol. The Kahan Gadol, which is to say high priest. He is our high priest. He is Malki Zadok. Bring him the best, the best. Don't be like the priests that had in the 3rd chapter of Malachi, who were bringing lamed animals, who were bringing animals with tumors and lame and maimed animals to him. You rob him in that way, and it is an abomination to him. It is an abomination to him. We are to bring him the best. Bring him the best, and let it be a pure, undefiled offering coming from your heart. Barak Yahuwah. 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 Barak Yahuwah.
Thank you,
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Your best offerings. Your best offerings. Your best offerings.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yahuwah.
Your name alone be praised. Yes.
Yahuwah.
May your name be esteemed. May your name be esteemed.
Thank you, Abba. Name it.
I find it interesting that there are some here who's never brought an offering.
Thank you, Abba.
It's very interesting to me. I told you that this is a season of separation and preparation, and that He's revealing the tares within us. There are some here who have never brought an offering. Never. Who have never brought an offering. Who have never esteemed Him with their lips. When we slaughter thanksgiving to Him, we esteem Him. And there are some here who have never slaughter offerings of thanksgiving to Him. That's interesting to me.
Yahuwah is your name. Yahuwah is your name. Yahuwah is your name. Yahuwah is your name. Please be esteemed. Please be esteemed. Oh, Yah. Please be esteemed. Oh, Yah. Oh, please, Abba, accept the offerings.
Yes, Abba.
Oh, please be esteemed.
Yes, Abba.
Oh, please be esteemed. Oh, Yah. Oh, please, Abba, Yah, be esteemed. You're so worthy, Abba Yahuwah.
Yes, Abba.
You don't care what our voices sound like.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Sing from your heart.
Oh, Yah, please be esteemed. Oh, Yahuwah, be esteemed. Oh, Yah, be esteemed. Yahuwah. Oh, Yah, be esteemed. Be esteemed, oh, Yahuwah. Oh, Yah, be esteemed. This young, accept the offerings. Oh, Yah, please accept the offerings. Oh, Yah, please accept our offerings. Please, Abba. Oh, Yah, accept our sweet offering.
Yes, Abba.
Oh, Yah, please accept our offering. Sup with this, Abba.
Yes, Abba. Yes, Abba.
Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
Thank you, Abba.
Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah.
Praise be to Yahuwah. Praise be to Yahuwah. Praise be to Yahuwah. Praise be to Yahuwah. Your word is true. Your word is the truth. Separated in your truth. Separated in your truth. Your word is true. Your word is the truth. Separated in your truth. Separated in your truth. There is none like you, oh Yah. None like you, oh Yah. There is none like you, oh Yah. There is none like you, oh Yahuwah. None like you, Yahuwah. None like you, oh Yahuwah. None like you, oh Yah. Praise be to Yahuwah. Praise be Yahuwah, your word is true. Your word is the truth. Separated in your truth. Separated in your truth. Your word is true. Your word is the truth. Separated in your truth. Separated in your truth. There is none like you, oh yeah. None like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh Yahuwah. None like you, Yahuwah. None like you, oh Yahuwah. None like you, oh Yah. Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Abba.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Abba.
Your love is devoted, like a ring of solid gold, like a vow that is tested, like a covenant of old. Your love is enduring through the winter rain, from beyond the horizon. Mercy for today, faithful you have been, faithful you will be. You pledge yourself to me, and that's why I sing. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Praise to you, Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Who else has offerings? Who else has offerings?
I have a song that I would like to sing. Almighty Yahuwah, 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 my comforter, my healer, my redeemer, my restorer, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, my rescuer, my warrior, my sovereign, my savior, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, my bridegroom, my master, my sovereign, my Elohim, Almighty Yahuwah, 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 Almighty Yahuwah,
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
Hallelujah.
Barak Yahuwah, mighty Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
Yahuwah. Hallelujah.
Who else, Miss Baca? Who else?
We got me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Keep me burning till the end of day.
Mm-hmm.
Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign of sovereigns. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign. Give me song in my heart, keep me praising. Give me song in my heart, I pray. Give me song in my heart, keep me praising. Keep me praising till the end of day. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign of sovereigns. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign. Give me shalom in my life, yeah, keep me resting.
Mm-hmm.
Give me shalom in my life, I pray. Give me shalom in my life, keep me resting. Keep me resting till the end of days. Barak Yah! Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign of sovereigns. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the sovereign.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
Thank you, Abba. Thank you, Abba. Thank you, Abba.
By the weakness of this flesh, by the weakness of the heart, Abba Yahuwah, please strengthen us, Abba Yahuwah. Pour out your root in this assembly, Abba Yahuwah. Fill each and every one of us full of your root, Abba Yahuwah. In the name of Yahusha, we pray, Abba Yahuwah. Please help us, Abba Yahuwah. We are just flesh. We are just men.
Yes,
we
Abba.
need you, Abba Yahuwah. We need you in our lives. We can't do this without you. Please, Abba
Yes,
Yahuwah.
Abba. Yes, Abba. Yes, Abba.
Barak Yahuwah.
Yes, Abba. Yes, Abba. Yes, Abba. We need you, Abba. We need you. We need your consuming fire.
Yes.
Yes, Abba. Let your consuming fire even go forth this day to thoroughly purge and cleanse your threshing floor.
Yes.
To thoroughly purge and cleanse your threshing floor. Pour out your water upon us. Breathe your breath upon us. Cause us all to walk near to you and walk this ancient path. Basham Yahusha.
I got a song, Miss Baca.
Barak Yahuwah.
Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, how we love Yahuwah. Oh, love Yahuwah. Oh, how good she is. 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 Oh, how we love Yahuwah. 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 Oh, how good she is. 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 Oh, how we love Yahuwah. 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 Barak Yahuwah.
Rock Yahuwah.
Rock Yahuwah.